Well, hello everyone. Here again to just show a quick video on some changes I made to the button board and just to kind of highlight those changes so you can understand how you can utilize it. So the main thing is I added the ability to add one additional RGB button onto here, and the rest of it is pretty much the same. So you can see the resistors I just moved to this board instead of on the flipper boards themselves, just to make things a little bit simpler there. But everything else works the same. I'm just going to show you how it works real quick here. So if I open this up, well, first I'll just show you how it connects. So you've got your 16 pin ribbon cable going out from the main board, and that goes into the button board. This ribbon cable is the one that supplies all the button input signals. So when I push the button, so that it sees that button push on the computer. And then there's the 16 channel expansion board that plugs from the, this is that where it says output ground, and then on here it says GND input. So it goes from the output to the input on the expansion board, and then the expansion board has a 16 channel output. It's labeled right here, 16 channel output, and that goes to the 16 channel input on the button board itself. So that'll get you hooked up there. Again, this expansion board is optional. If you want, you can exclude it and the button board will still all work. You can actually supply power in here, and then it'll just light up all your lights constant if you want to do it that way. Otherwise, you can run it through the expansion board and you'll get these DOF controlled lights. And I'm going to show you how those work right now. Well, right after this one other thing. So then the flipper boards. On each flipper board, it's labeled now, so you see on this little board here it says right connect to right out, and on the main board here it says right flipper out. So you can plug in your cable into there and then plug it into there just like that, and then the same for the left. This is the left out, and then over here it says connect to left out. So that's how that works. And then for your RGB buttons, you can plug it into that pin, and you can see the yellow wire is on the outside pin. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. And it's the yellow wire is your positive, and then you get RGB. And same for the bottom one. You can see the yellow one is facing out this way, and on this one it's facing this way. So it's towards the outside of the board in both cases. And same, of course, for the other board over here. So then once you have everything hooked up, you can test out all your lights. So I'm going to do that first. So you can see output 1 is going to light up both flipper buttons. And then output 2, and that's your red, then your green, and then your blue. So the first 3 outputs light up the both flippers at the same time, and then when you do the next one, it's going to be just the right MagnaSave, red, green, blue, and then the left MagnaSave, red, green, blue. Okay, so that's that one. And then when you go down after that, it's just going to light up the regular buttons. So we've got our red button there, and then our blue button, and then our green button, and then our blue button. Okay, and then this is where the last RGB light comes into play. So the last few outputs here, there's output 9, 10, and 11. Okay, and I actually have 11 plugged into an LED to demonstrate this. 9, 10, and 11 can be either to an RGB, or 9, 10, 11 can be outputs for individual lights. If you do both, then the behavior is going to be a little bit different. So when I turn on this is my RGB turning on 9, 10, and then 11. You see both lights light up. That's because I plugged this into output 11. So when you're using output 11, or when you're using the RGB output, there's just not enough outputs. There's 16 channel outputs, and 9 of them are used for these first few, and then those last 3 are for the RGB. So there's 3 ports here that you you can either use those three for this, or you can have three individual lighted up buttons. Typically, I think the way that I have it, it's actually like pretty much perfect. So you get your flippers, you get your fire button. That's what this last RGB is for, is your fire button. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 other outputs to use for DOF controlled lights. And then the last 1 or 2, if you have extra buttons, typically DOF isn't going to do much with them anyway. So it's kind of like perfect the way it's set up right there. But just to be aware, if you're using this RGB one, the 9, 10, and 11, you can't really use for lighted outputs. You can still do constant lighted outputs for those. So you can switch this jumper and have it so it's constant on, but you can't really use both. So that's pretty much the only change though. And it's just giving you that flexibility so that if you want to have an extra RGB button in there for your fire button, you can. Or you can just go the traditional approach and have 3 standard single LED colored buttons. Okay, and that's pretty much all I wanted to show. My other video shows more about the jumpers and things like that. And I guess I might as well at least show that since we're all here right now. So just so you can see how you do the single lights. So I can plug in an output here, and you can see I've got one of them already lit up because it's plugged into the few outputs that are constant light up only, and so that one's turned on. And I've got 3 of them here that cannot be DOF controlled. So there's 14 buttons on here, and 11 of them can be DOF controlled. 3 of them are going to be constant on no matter what. So if you supply 12 volts here, then you'll get that light turning on. You can also, if you want, you can run some of these other lights to be switched, and all you do is there's jumpers here, and they're labeled 1 through 11. You flip one of those jumpers off. So if I take like jumper 11 off and put it from, it says switch to on. So if I put it to on, then now when I plug this in to number 11, see, it's lit up, which is really great. And I can even, the nice part about that is, see, I can control output 11 to this RGB LED and have one of them be constant on at the same time, which is nice, so that you have that flexibility if you want to do something like that. It's just a nice extra thing. So those three individuals that are being used to light up this one and are DOF controlled, you can use them to have constant on LEDs if you want. So you really have those 3 ports are still usable, but not DOF controlled usable, just constant on usable. And you just have to flip that jumper switch to enable that feature. Okay, and so that's everything there. Okay, so you can kind of see how the whole thing works, and hopefully that'll answer any questions you have when hooking up this kit. I know it's a lot of wires to look at, but really these are all just buttons that are just plugged into the button outputs there. And then you've got here's the one side, here's the other side, and the ribbon cable's going back. Of course, when it's all on your machine, it looks real nice. And you can see I've got some videos showing that as well. Okay, so happy pinballing, everyone, and I'll see you later.